Hi, everybody. We're going to finish up chapter 10, and we're starting on page 118 with elopement. Now, elopement to you guys would mean two people in love who run away to Las Vegas and get married. In our world, it's a little different, but it's still somebody's leaving something. So, elopement for us is when a patient or a resident leaves the facility without our knowledge. Now, they're allowed to leave the facility. They can go to stay with relatives. They can go out for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They can go shopping at the mall if they want to. We just ask that they let us know when they're leaving and when they're coming back so that we can keep a tally on where our residents are. Now, we're going to identify persons at risk for elopement. So there's kind of, and I don't like to say this, but it's kind of true. There's a Polaroid picture of people who are at risk of leaving without permission, and it's taped up to the desk. So there's like a most wanted poster of all the people who have either eloped in the past or who may wander and get lost. So when you go into the facility, if you look on the other side of the desk at the front entrance, you'll probably see a bunch of pictures of people, and those are the people who are at higher risk of leaving without our knowledge. Now, usually on the care plan, there is a markings of some type that says that they're at higher risk for elopement, and those people who are on that risk, we tend to monitor and supervise a little more carefully, tend to look at them a little more often and make sure that they're still around. If there is someone who does leave and we don't know where they or we can't find them, they usually will call a code and then a color behind it or some type of way to delineate that someone is missing. And your job when someone is missing is to go around and to look for that person, but also check all of your residents and make sure you can account for all of them. So you would take your list and you would walk around, and all of the residents that you're in charge of, you would go looking for and making sure that they're safe and they're accounted for. And then if you don't find someone, then of course report them missing. I have a little story for you. There's two little ladies that I met about 2 days after I started working in the nursing home. They were Marge and Helen. They were both on the dementia floor, but they both had moderate dementia. They weren't totally lost yet, but there were times when they didn't actually know where they were. So the elevator doors opened to the unit that they were staying on, and there were two ladies standing by the door, the elevator door. Now they had their winter coats on, and which is appropriate because it was winter. They had mittens and a hat on. They both had their purses on their arms. They both were wearing boots. They looked dressed, ready to go outside. They looked perfectly normal to me. So I, being a nurse and having been taught this so long ago, held the doors open, the elevator doors open for them. And then I asked them what floor they were going. They said they were leaving the building. So I pushed floor number 1, and out they went, or in the elevator they went. And the elevator's doors were closing. And all of a sudden I heard way down the hall, no. And it turns out that was one of the staff members who saw Marge and Helen getting into the elevator. And I didn't know at the time that those two were residents because they looked really good. So I just assumed they were visitors. And when the nursing assistant got to me, they said, "Where did you let them out?" And I told them the first floor. So she grabbed one of the other aides that was in the hallway, and they went running up the stairs to go grab them by the front door. Thankfully, the lady at the front door who watches for visitors and opens up the doors for people had their pictures on her desk. And so she was sitting there detaining them and talking with them when the staff members got upstairs. And so nothing happened to Marge and Helen. But every time I went to that unit, every time the elevator doors opened, there they were, Marge and Helen, hanging out by the elevator, just waiting for somebody to hit the button for them so they could go out. It got to be kind of a little silly joke between us all. Then like, oh, it's you. You won't let us out, will you? No, I can't. But they were fun. They were quite a unique little couple. Okay, next is workplace violence. Workplace violence is violent act directed towards persons at work or while on duty. It's usually a resident, generally not staff members. Now, OSHA, our friends OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, has guidelines for violence prevention programs, and that's the second bullet point here. These are safety measures that OSHA recommends if in case someone is agitated or aggressive. The first one is stand away from the person at least arm's length. Why? Because when they swing, you want to duck. And so if you're close enough to them, they could actually make contact with you. So stand at least arm length away so that they can't whack you. Stand close to the door. If you possibly can, make yourself so that you can get towards the door. Try to get your way towards the door. Do not try to get towards the bathroom door, because if you're stuck in the bathroom, no one's going to know you need help, and you can't call out from the bathroom because there's no way for anyone to hear you. So head towards the exit door. Keep your hands free. Don't have anything in your hands, because if you hold things in your hands, it looks like you're holding a weapon. Also, don't ball up your fists. I know when you're scared, sometimes you tend to ball up your fists, but if you ball up your fists, it looks like you're ready to hit them, and that will make them more aggressive, and because they're going to want to defend themselves. So keep your hands flat and straight and at your sides. Stay calm. Hard to do, but try to stay calm. Have a nice, quiet, low voice, slow voice. Don't talk fast. And be aware of the way you're standing. So if you have your hands crossed over your chest, or you have your fists balled up, you're going to look like you're taking an aggressive stance to them. So they're, again, going to be getting more agitated and aggressive because they're going to try to defend themselves. Best thing you can do is leave the room as soon as you humanly possibly can and go get the nurse and or call security, or the nurse can call security, whoever, but have security come up and help us out, de-escalate the situation. Weapons. Now, some of these things you might not have thought of, so that's why I included them. Bracelets. People can grab you by the bracelet, and it's kind of like a handcuff, and they've got a really good hold of you. You could get hurt that way. Earrings. They can grab at your ears and earrings and rip those poor earlobes out, which of course will make you fall to your knees in pain. Necklaces can be used as a weapon because they can choke you with them. Be careful with lanyards also. Sometimes you'll see nurses wear a lanyard with their ID on. It's not recommended in certain areas of the hospital or facilities because people can grab onto that lanyard or the necklace and choke you pretty easily with those. Long hair can be used to pull, and they can yank really hard and possibly cause neck injuries. So you want to be careful. Like I said, stay at least arm's length away so they can't grab the pony. Then we have if for staff safety, if you're going to go and assist with someone who's agitated or try to de-escalate the situation, don't go alone. Make sure you have somebody with you. And the next bullet point might sound kind of odd to you, but you want to wear your ID. And the reason is because if this person who's agitated gets out of the room and is running around, it helps the security officers to know who actually belongs on that floor and who's not belonging. Because if they decide to fade into the background and just look like a visitor, it's harder for them to identify that person. So if we have our IDs on, then we can definitely prove that we belong to the facility. So on page 118 in the box 10-6, workplace violence safety measures. Would you please highlight bullet point number 1, stand away. Number 2, stand close to the door. Number 5, keep your hands free. Number 6, stay calm. Number 11, leave the room as soon as possible. And then 12, tell the nurse and security officer about the matter. Okay, risk management. There is actually a human being whose job it is for risk management, and all they do is try to identify and control risks and safety hazards for the facility. So their job is to walk around and look for things that can be improved on or things that might hurt someone, might be dangerous in some way or another. So the intent of a risk manager is to protect everyone in the agency, to look out for us, to look out for the residents, to look out for the families and the families and the visitors. Okay, protect the person's valuables. So they're in charge of looking at any kind of thefts or misplaced items, preventing accidents and injuries. Now, they're not trying to point blame and say, it was you who hurt someone. What they're trying to do is look at what happened, how it happened, and put something in place that will keep it from happening again. So it's more of a preventative thing than a blame issue. Accidents and fire prevention, their job is to look around for things that could possibly be dangers to us. Negligence and malpractice. These people who are risk managers are lawyers, so they will handle any kind of legal claims of negligence or malpractice. Abuse also, they're involved in reporting and recording abuse statements. Workplace violence and the federal and state requirements that are in place for nursing homes or hospitals. They are in charge of understanding and enforcing the requirements that they have. Now, I want you to look at that list and notice that a risk manager is not somebody who's on the floor giving day-to-day care. They're not brushing teeth, washing hair, giving a bath. All the things that they're doing are higher up management type things than actual physical nursing care. Now, part of risk manager's job is to identify ways to make our lives a little easier so that we don't have to work so hard. We can work smarter, not harder, as the saying goes. So one of the things came up years ago was if you don't have your assignment paper right in your hand, in order to make it easier for us to identify certain residents, we have now colored wristbands that makes it a little bit easier for everybody to identify certain things. Now, these colors are universal, so if you go to any facility, red will always mean allergies, and generally speaking, on the band will be what they're allergic to. So if they say, I'm allergic to something, but I don't remember what, you could read the band and tell them. Yellow is for fall precautions. So if they've fallen before or they have a history of weakness or dizziness, or they're on medications that will make them weaker, dizzier, they'll have a yellow band on for fall precautions, meaning you have to set them up and allow them extra time before they stand. The purple band, I put DNR here, but we haven't talked about it yet. So DNR stands for do not resuscitate. So if their heart stops, they don't want us to do CPR. They don't want us to do any life-saving techniques. If their heart should stop, they want us not to do anything. So red is allergies, yellow is fall precautions, and purple is do not resuscitate. In your book on page 119, you'll see the 3 bullet points under color-coded wristbands Please highlight each color and know what they are, because those will be on your test, but you will also see the residents in the facilities wearing them, and especially the do not resuscitate band. We don't want you to start CPR on somebody who doesn't want it done. So make sure you know what those colors are and what they mean to us. Now, your care plan and your assignment sheet should have what, if they have allergies, it should list them. If they're fall precautions, it should say it on your assignment. Or if they're do not resuscitate, it should say it on your assignment. If you think somebody is a fall precaution risk, go ahead and tell your nurse that you think that they should qualify to have a yellow band on. And this happens sometimes, if you're doing something to them and they say, oh, I can't have that, I'm allergic to that, but they don't have an allergy band on, tell the nurse, because sometimes people don't remember that they have allergies until they come across something that sparks a memory for them. So sometimes, like when you're feeding them breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and they put strawberries on their plate, and it's just a decoration or so, but it's there, they'll be like, oh, I can't have that on my plate. I think I'm allergic to those. So make sure that if someone does say something to you, that you report it to the nurse so that we can get the appropriate band on their wrist, because it will make our lives a lot easier later. Okay, risk managers deal with personal belongings. We want their stuff to stay safe. We don't want it to get lost or misplaced. So here's some suggestions for you. When someone comes into the facility, you will, I don't know, we is the right word, but you will write down a list of all the things that they have taken with them. Clothes, shoes, how many underwear, how many t-shirts, how many shirts, pants. If they took a radio, they took a picture, they took a clock radio, they took whatever they have with them. You're going to write a complete list of everything is there, because that way we can account for everything. And if it's missing, we'll know that they did have it and it wasn't a memory that they just didn't ever have here. As far as valuables go, any jewelry or money should be kept safe in our safe, not in their room. Not saying that people are thieves, but sometimes with dementia patients especially, they will take things and put them in other places and not remember where they put them. So it makes it easier if we have detailed list of what they have, so that we can go looking for it. So each jewelry item needs to be listed and described on an envelope, but you have to be careful how you write it. Just because it's yellow doesn't mean it's gold. So you will write yellow colored bracelet, you will not put gold. If it's silver colored, it's silver colored. You're not going to put sterling silver or silver, because we don't know that. If it has a clear stone in it, looks like a diamond, it might be, it might not be. So clear colored stone. A ruby would be red colored stone. You would just describe its color. You're not going to give it a name, because we don't know if they're really truly authentic or not. The money needs to be kept and noted in the person's record. Now, they can have money, and if they want it, we can get it out for them at any time. It's just safer if they don't have it laying around their room. So what you want to do with money is count it in front of that person and put it in an envelope. On the outside of the envelope, you will write the number of whatever it is that you counted, money you counted. Then you're going to seal it and sign it right over the seal, so that when it's opened, you'll break the signature. And you're going to give that envelope to the nurse, who is going to call security, and security will come up and lock it in the safe. Personal electronic devices that are kept at the bedside need to be written on their records. So if they want their own TV, their own little flat screen TV, that's fine, but we have to write it down. Some people want a little clock so that they can see what time it is. That's absolutely fine. But if they have pictures, you want to write picture with a yellow frame, a white frame, a purple frame, whatever color it is, of family members, and describe or 3 family members or 2 family members and a dog or something like that, so that if we're trying to find it later, we can at least have some clue as to what the picture was about. And all clothes, shoes, and other items brought in from home have to have labels on. So when the resident comes to the facility, they bring all of their clothing and shoes, etc., to the laundry department, and the laundry department has those little iron-on labels, and they put their names in every piece of clothing, underwear, t-shirts, socks, everything has its shoes, and any towels or personal care items that they have that they want to use should have a name on it so that we can identify it as to their property. Last slide is incident reports. If something happens, you need to write a report of what happened so that we can record, have a written account of what is happened. Now, when you things that constitute incident reports are anything that happens involving a patient, a resident, a visitor, and or staff member. Okay. Errors in care, whether you gave care to the wrong person, you didn't give care when it should have been given. Those errors are also part of incident reports. If anything gets lost or broken that was theirs, we write an incident report. Any lost money or clothing, we write an incident report. Hazardous substances incidents, if you drop something that's hazardous on the floor or you found something hazardous, it needs to be written up. And then workplace violence. So if anybody gets agitated and violent, then we also write an incident report. Now, once the incident itself needs to be reported, or the error needs to be reported at once. So once you figure it out or see it or it happens, you need to find your nurse and report it immediately. Once it's reported immediately, the next step will be to write an incident report as soon as you possibly can, because memories do fade, and so you don't want to accidentally forget any part of it. Now, if someone told you they fell, that's an incident report. So what you would do is you would write the incident report and use quotation marks. Patient said they fell. They tripped over the rug in the bathroom and hit their head on the toilet, with quotation marks. If you were in the room and saw it happen, then you can write it down. Witness patient tripping on rug in bathroom and falling and hitting their head. So if they tell you something, make sure you use quotation marks because we want it accurate. If you actually saw it happen, then write down what you saw. Do not elaborate on it. Don't say, well, the corner of the rug looks like it's frayed and that's how they tripped. It's just simply person tripped on rug and fell and hit their head. So it's just the facts and only the facts. I think that was Dragnet, or one of those really old shows my father used to watch, where he would say, just the facts, man, only the facts. All right, we have finished with our chapter 10, and we're going to boogie on to chapter 11. If I can get this to